friends, welcome back to Page Chewing, and welcome back to the final weekly installment of The Crossing by Cormac McCarthy. It's the second book in the Border Trilogy, so we'll wrap up this book today. And I believe we do have a group discussion planned, but it's not for a few weeks. So what we'll do is we will take a couple of weeks off from reading, and we'll start Cities of the Plain chapters 1 and 2 in 2 weeks. So we'll take a week off and we will discuss Cities of the Plain chapters 1 and 2 in 2 weeks. Hope you will join me. Those of you who have been reading along, lots to talk about. So, all right, so we pick up after Boyd had left with the girl and Billy is by himself. Billy wanders a bit. He does run into the same people a few times, and I like that. I think it's like him running into the same people and then recognizing him, like the sheriff, or he recognized him, and he sees the old man again. And so he tries to join the military because World War II is starting. I think this is a good point for us because it gives us reference, it gives us a context for the time period, because World War II is starting and people are signing up for the military to help in the fight. And he tries to enlist. He gets a free breakfast out of it, and a couple of meals. But he refused because he has a heart murmur. He's not able to join the military. I liked that we have like I said, a kind of gives us a frame of reference for the time period. I wonder what the purpose of this is, other than Billy was looking for some kind of purpose because he had lost everything. He had nowhere to go. He didn't have anyone to sign a waiver for him to join the military. So in that sense, I think he was looking for something, looking for purpose, looking for something to do. He said, why don't I, if I'm going to die, like, let's, use me for something that has meaning or that is significant in some way. So he eventually runs into the man who worked on the ranch with the horse herder, and comes to find out that his brother Boyd had been killed. Comes to find out that Boyd had a kind of like a mean streak in him, or he wanted to shoot people, he wanted to kill people, wanted to punish. And it makes sense because of what had happened to him. So he was looking for revenge. He eventually found the wrong person and he was killed. The whereabouts of the girl are unknown, and I like that. I like that we don't know what happens to her. I'm assuming she survived, but she's nowhere to be found. So this conversation I liked a lot. This is probably my favorite interaction that Billy has. He talks a lot about maps and locations and the way that we have to label things, because we have to, the earth, the land doesn't change. It's us who changes. And we have to give ourselves kind of, again, like a frame of reference to know where we're going and to kind of give us a sense of direction and kind of a sense of purpose in a way. I really like that interaction. One of my favorite quotes is, what makes someone a good friend also makes them a good enemy. And it's true. It's very true. Often we know people, or we know of people who are friends to us, and we think, I wish, we weren't, I hope one day we're never enemies, because what makes them a good friend will make them a really, I guess, bad enemy or good enemy, depending on how you look at it. But the same traits that make someone a good enemy also make them a good friend. And I love that quote. I thought it was great. So he also tries to convince Billy to not take Boyd's remains out of Mexico, because Boyd was where he wanted to be. Boyd chose where he would be. That was his decision to make. That was his blessing in a way, that he was where he wanted to be. Of course, Billy doesn't listen to this, and he goes and he digs up Boyd's grave, pulls Boyd out of the ground, and breaks the coffin, and ends up carrying Boyd's remains back north to America, or to New Mexico. On his journey back is when he runs into, I think it was 5 bandits I really like, McCarthy has a way of building tension, of building it in a way that it really gets your blood pumping. It really, you feel the tension in the air when Billy has these interactions, or any of his characters have this interaction. And it eventually leads to Nino being stabbed, his horse being stabbed in the chest. And they take Billy's pistol and some of his possessions, and the other pack horse ends up leaving, loses track of it. And I thought the horse was going to die. I didn't think the horse would make it. I liked the fact that Billy cares for him, like he's a person, like he's part of his family. That's all that's left is his dad's horse, and he manages to keep the horse alive with clay and with with his clothes, and pushing his hat against the wound. Eventually, these gypsies show up, and he has the interaction with the gypsies. They offer to buy the horse, and Billy mentions, like, that's how he knew the horse was going to survive, because they wanted the horse. And the horse ends up living. They help him with the horse. And this interaction, okay, so the interaction with the gypsies, I'm curious about, because they talk about the two planes, and I'm not quite sure what the significance of that is. I feel like I'm missing something. And I would love to kind of explore that more. I hope to do that during the group discussion in a few weeks, but talk about the planes, and the way that my initial thoughts on that is the way that we give kind of meaning to items, like we tell stories based on items, and we can, we based on their location. I think there were some parallels to Boyd's Remains with this, but I'm not quite sure. And I would love to know more about that, because I'm sure there's something I'm missing there. So we'll put that on the list of questions to kind of explore later. And if you have any thoughts on this, or if I'm a complete idiot and missing the obvious, then please let me know. That'd be great, because I've been thinking about this a lot. I do like the fact that Boyd became kind of this folk hero, and he became kind of he was admired by the people he was around. I think Billy admired Boyd, and he felt almost like Boyd is better than him in some ways, because of the way that he was treated. They were treated differently. So the next part, he goes and he finds a place to bury Boyd. He, lays Boyd to rest, and I was wondering where he was going to lay him to rest, because he doesn't really have a home. He has really nothing. He has really no place to go. It's just a matter of across the border. It seems like that was this place to be, and he buries Boyd and his remains there. Then he wanders, and it's the end really, really got to me. Really got to me. The old dog that comes, that when Billy's resting with his horse in like a barn, and the dog comes and looks at him and the horse and lays down, and Billy scares him away, and the horse lays out this, or the dog lays out this guttural howl, almost like a cry, almost like this dog who's broken and who has survived, is basically thrown away and discarded, who's somehow surviving but on his own. The dog runs away and howls, and Billy scares him away, and then tries to look for him, and he isn't able to find the dog, and he weeps at the end. And another part, so another quote that I really liked is when he was talking to the man. He talked about every day is a new day, or I believe this is the gypsy. That's what every day is a new day, and the husks that we leave behind the day before, the empty husks that we carry over for the next day, it's a new day. And instead of leaving the old husks behind, we bring those husks with us, and we carry them over to the next day, and we don't have to. Every day is a new day, even though it seems like the same day. It's not. It's a whole new start. It's a whole new day. And this was kind of, leaving the past behind, forgetting, moving on from things, leaving the husks behind in yesterday. Don't carry it over to today or into tomorrow. Leave the empty husks behind. And it reminds me of the last line about the sunrise. The sun rose for everyone, because it's a new day. It's a new day for everybody. It's a fresh start. it's indiscriminate. It's anyone. It's a whole new start for everyone. And I really, really love that. I love that it comes around back to that. And when Billy cries at the end, I mean, I think you kind of come full circle because we start with the wolf who would have probably ripped his throat out in the first chapter, saving the wolf, carrying the wolf across, all these other hazards and risking his own life and other people's lives to save a wolf and to bring him back home. And at the end of the book, to, kind of bookends him scaring this old, broken, kind of helpless dog away when the dog just wanted to lay there with someone. I think it's kind of looks on Billy's journey, where he started and what he's been through and how he sees the world now, how he reacts to things, kind of the things that, how he's changed. And Billy has remained pretty consistent. I mean, I think he's always tried to do the right thing, much like John in the first book. They both seem well intentioned, that they are trying to do the right thing. And I love that we start off with a wolf saving the wolf who would have killed him given the chance, to chasing this old dog away. And Billy kind of realizes this and he weeps at the end. He cries because of all the things that he's been through all through his life and the journey he's had. And I love that. I read that last part a few times. I listened to it a few times. It really killed me. It really got to me. I just loved this book. I was putting All the Pretty Horses above this one, but now it's so close. I'm not sure which one I like better. But the end of both of them are good, but I really, really love the end of The Crossing. Just beautiful, beautiful ending, and just such a great book. Now, I was looking up, so that's kind of wrapping up The Crossing, but we'll have a group discussion in a few weeks when other people have a chance to finish it. And we'll start, like I said, chapters 1 and 2 of Cities of the Plain in 2 weeks. But I wanted to also mention, I looked at some reviews because I like to get different opinions on the books I'm reading. And there's a lot of people who don't like this book or don't like all the Pretty Horses, don't like McCarthy. And I was one of those people. It took me a while to get used to him. It took me a while to get used to his writing style and to kind of dig into it. I think it just takes a minute to adjust. And it did to me too. It took me a minute to adjust to it. But now that I've kind of, changed my way of thinking about it, I guess you can say, like I've gotten used to it, and I just love his writing. So, but I found some people who absolutely hate McCarthy and do not like these books. And, people who rave about Blood Meridian and hate this book and All the Pretty Horses. It's so strange to me because All the Pretty Horses is much more accessible, more of a straightforward kind of narrative than Blood Meridian. Blood Meridian is something else. And I hope to revisit that one too. Now that I've had more McCarthy under my belt, kind of reframe that. But I've read some really, or I read and saw some really bad reviews. And I mean, if you don't like a book, that's perfectly fine. Anyway, what did you think about The Crossing? Did you enjoy it? Like I said, we'll be discussing the first 2 chapters of Cities in the Plain in a couple of weeks. After that, I'm thinking of reading Out of the Outer Dark, or also another McCarthy book, or there's a few other ones I've been thinking about reading, about kind of exploring. There is a thread on the forum with a poll if you'd like to vote. Another one that I've been thinking about starting is Lonesome Dove. That book is like 800 pages, so I'm not sure if I want to jump into something so chunky just yet. Maybe we'll do The Outer Dark and then jump into, because The Outer Dark is pretty short before jumping into a big doorstop. Another one is Neuropath by R. Scott Baker. There's a few other ones that I was considering reading, but anyway. Yeah, I'm excited to wrap up, or to get to the 3rd book and to wrap up the Border Trilogy. I'm having a great time with it. Thank you for coming by and visiting with me. I didn't want to wait another month before we start the 3rd book, and I've just wanted to keep it rolling. So we will take a week off and start in 2 weeks with the first 2 chapters of Cities of the Plain, and then we'll go from there. Just kind of see how dense the writing is and kind of decide on our pace from there. So until then, thank you again for listening. If you'd like to contact me directly, there is a link down below. You can send a message to me directly, or you can join our forums at pagechewing.com and say hello there and join the discussion there. I really, really, really am looking forward to the group discussion for this one. There's so many questions I have. I want to hear other people's opinions and thoughts on all these different story elements. I'm really, really excited. So many things to talk about. So I just love this book. I still think All the Pretty Horses is a little bit better because the first chapter, well, looking back on it now, I can see what the purpose of it was. I don't think the first chapter is as strong. I think it's the weakest chapter in the two books. That's it was still good, but it wasn't as strong for me as the Other Pretty Horses. So I think that might be making it my second favorite book in this series so far. But we'll see what the third book brings us. So until then, thank you again for listening, and we will talk to everyone very soon.